Tlaharia Conaway Tillicum, Ab Nika name, Nika Mitlight Kitimat. Hello everyone, my name is Ab and I live in Kitimat. And welcome to class number 4 of the Introduction to Chinook Jargon course that I have developed. This is the second last course of this first session. I haven't decided if I'm going to continue on with these lessons later on. I'll be deciding that after next week's lesson. So I wanted to jump into a couple of things here today. I wanted to revisit something that I mentioned last time when we were going through the dictionary online. So I'm going to bring up my web browser here and show you what I wanted to talk about there. So we looked at the word Ilahi, and you can see here it's a noun. That's what the N stands for, noun. And the definition, there's a few different definitions here for Ilahi. It could mean ground, it could mean earth, or it could mean dirt. And the first sentence here that's used as an example is Tipso Ilahi, which means prairie. And again, this shouldn't actually be here. I haven't gone around to fixing that yet, but I'll do that somewhere down the road. So Tipso Ilahi means prairie. And in the moment, I couldn't remember what Tipso actually means. And I was trying to look it up in the dictionary, and I thought it wasn't actually in the George Gibbs dictionary, but later on I found out that it actually is. So I'm just going to bring you to this section here where it lists the Chinook jargon words first, sorry, Chinook Wawa words first. And it should be somewhere around here in the T section. So I just wanted to show you what that word actually means. So it's not on the first page here. Right here. So the reason I couldn't find it was I was expecting it to be spelled with an I, T-I-P-S-O. But the way George Gibbs spells it is with a U, Tupso. So I was expecting to find Tipso, T-I-P, but it's actually Tupso. So there are some inconsistencies in the spellings that are in the George Gibbs dictionary, but Tipso means grass, leaves, fringe, feathers, or fur. So Tipso Ilahi basically means like ground hair, or hair, a ground that has hair. It's essentially what it means. So I figured out what that phrase, what the literal definition of that phrase actually is. So Tipso means grass and Ilahi means ground. So you can think of it as like the earth having hair. That's the more literal definition of grass, or in this case, it's actually the prairie where there's a lot of grass. So it kind of looks like the earth has hair. So I just wanted to point that out. And another example that he uses here is dly tupso, or dly tipso. And this is the word for hay. It basically means dry grass. So dly or dly means dry, and tupso or tipso means grass. So dly tipso is hay or dry grass. So I wanted to point that out and just make some corrections on what I was talking about last week in the presentation. So now I'm on a different tab, and I'm going to open up the presentation for today's lesson. So this is the Introduction to Chinook Jargon, or Chinook Wawa, session 1, class number 4. And I'm your host, Ab Morrison-Hayward. and the year is 2024. The first thing I want to share is counting in Chinook Wawa. So the word kwanan means to count. So kwanan means to count, and the numbers, or it could mean number as well. So we'll begin by looking at the numbers from 1 to 10. And again, there's different spellings you might come across. So I've provided a couple of different spellings for some of these words. So the first one is icht. Icht. So the X here kind of sounds like an H. So sometimes you'll see it spelled IXT. You might see it spelled IHT. You might see a combination of the two of them where it's IHXT, something along those lines. And you might hear a couple of different pronunciations as well. So sometimes the I will sound like I. Sometimes it might sound like E. So you might hear icht, or you might hear icht. So either way, that is the number 1. Icht or icht is 1. The next one is moxt. So it might be spelled with an X and a T at the end, or you might see it with a KST at the end. Either way, it's pronounced moxt. You might actually see it without a T at the end too. It might even be mox. So it depends on the spelling that you find in whatever dictionary you're looking in. So it could be mox, could be moxed. And that is the number 2. So moxed is 2. The next one, clone. You might hear thloon or tloon as well. But in the George Gibbs dictionary, he spells it with a KL at the start, clone, and that is 3. Next number is locket. I mentioned last week that locket is my favorite Chinook Wawa word. I just like the sound of it. So you might see it spelled with an O, or you might see LA. Either way, it would be pronounced locket, and that is 4. Next is quinum. Quinum. That is 5. Quinum. Next is tahum. Tahum. So you might see different spellings. I spelled it here with an H. You might see a GH. And if you remember last week, I talked about Chinook Jargon words coming from different indigenous languages. So some indigenous languages, like the language we speak here in Kitimat, you can hear that first sound, so that GH is meant to represent that deeper sound. So if you really want to get technical with your pronunciation, it would be tahum. Tahum. But you could soften it and make it more like just a regular H, like tahum. Either way, whatever is easier for you, whatever way suits you is the way you can pronounce it. So you could say tahum, you could say tahum. Either way, it is the number 6, tahum or tahum. Next is cinemoxed. Cinemoxed, and that is 7. Cinemoxed. Number 8, I would say this is my second favorite Chinook Wawa word. You might hear a couple of different pronunciations of it. In the George Gibbs dictionary, it's spelled Stotkin. But I've also heard Stutkin or Stutkin. Either way, it is the number 8. Stutkin or Stotkin, whichever way is easier for you to pronounce. is the way you can say it. As I mentioned before, there's not really any standard spelling or pronunciation for the northern dialect of Chinook Wawa. Next up is quaist. Quaist. That is the number 9. Quaist. And the next number, again, there's a couple of different ways you might see it spelled or pronounced. You might hear tatlum or tatlalum. Tatlum or tatlalum. Either way, it stands for the number 10. So we'll go through them one at a time. Icht, 1. Moxt, 2. Clone, 3. Locket, 4. Quinum, 5. Tahum, 6. Cinemoxt, 7. Stutkin or Stotkin, 8. Quaist, 9. Tatlum, 10. So those are the first 10 numbers in Chinook Wawa. Next, we'll take a look at numbers 11 to 20. So I've mentioned that the language that I speak and the rest of my people here speak in Kitimat is Haislikilla. The way we count in Haislikilla is very similar to the way you count in Chinook Wawa once you get above 10. So basically what's happening is you're taking the number 10 and you're adding numbers like 1 and 2 and 3. So you're adding numbers together to basically get the numbers 11, 12, and so on and so forth. So number 11, tatlum. So we remember that tatlum is 10. P means and then icht or icht means 1. So tatlum P icht. Tatlum P icht is 11. Tatlum P moxt or tatlum P mox is 12. So that's 10 and 2. 10 and 2 is 12. Next is tatlum P clone. Tatlum P clone. So 10 and 3 is 13. Tatlum P locket. Tatlum P locket, 14. Tatlum P quinum. Tatlum P quinum. So that's 10 and 5, which is 15. Tatlum P tahum. Tatlum P tahum, 16. Tatlum P cinemoxt. Tatlum P cinemoxt, 17. Tatlum P stotkin or Tatlum P stutkin, 18. Tatlum P quaist. Tatlum P quaist is 19. And then when you get to number 20, you start off with moxt, which is 2, and then tatlum, which is 10. So essentially it's 2 times 10. So moxt tatlum is 20. So I'll go through them one at a time. Tatlum P icht, 11. Tatlum P moxt, 12. Tatlum P clone, 13. Tatlum P locket, 14. Tatlum pi quinum. 15. Tatlum pi tachum. 16. Tatlum pi cinemoxt. 17. Tatlum pi stotkin. 18. Tatlum pi quaist. 19. And moxt tatlum. In this case, it might be helpful to drop the T and just say moxt tatlum. Moxt tatlum. 20. So again, whichever way you decide to pronounce it is up to you. And those are the numbers from 11 to 20 in Chinook Wawa. The next thing I wanted to share is opposites in Chinook Wawa. I find this is a really helpful way of studying languages in general because it gets you to start thinking a little bit differently about whatever language you're studying. So it might be helpful if you learn one word to learn the opposite of it, because then you make an association. It's easy to associate something that is an opposite of what you're learning. So I have a few words here on this slide and also the next one that I'll walk you through. So the first one is yes. Yes is aha. Aha. The opposite of yes is no. So that is wake. Wake. You might also see and hear weak. So wake or weak. Either one means no. So yes is aha. The opposite is no, which is wake or weak. Big is high ass. And you can see there's a couple of different spellings here. High ass. The opposite of big is small. And small is tennis or tennis. So big, high ass, small, tennis. Next up is many. The way you say many in Chinook Wawa is hayu. Hayu, many. Few, again, you can use the word tennis, or you can combine it. You can combine it with hayu and say tennis hayu. But either way is acceptable. You can say it whichever way you want to. So you can say tennis for few or tennis hayu. So many is hayu, few is tennis hayu, or just tennis. Give, I just realized now I spelled this incorrectly. The T should come first. So to give, potlatch. Potlatch. Take, iskum. Iskum. So give, potlatch. Take, iskum. Next up is all. So you heard this word when I introduced myself at the beginning of each of these lessons. Conaway means all. So when I say Tlahauya Conaway Tillicum, Tlahauya basically means hello, Conaway means all, and Tillicum means people. So Tlahauya Conaway Tillicum means hello, all people, or hello, everybody. And none is halo. Halo. And again, you could say hilo as well. So all, Conaway, none, halo, or hilo. To live, you also heard this in my introduction, mitlight. Mitlight means to live. So when I say Nika Mitleid Kidamat, Nika means I, Mitleid means live, and Kidamat is the place that I live in. So Nika Mitleid Kidamat means I live in Kidamat. It also Mitleid also means to sit. You'll find that a lot of Chinook Wawa words have multiple meanings, like tunis could mean small or it could mean few. Mitlight could mean to live or it could also mean to sit. So live, mitlight, die, mimalus, mimalus. So I'll go through these again, one at a time. Yes, aha, no, wake, or weak. Big, high ass, small, tennis. Many, high you, few, tennis, or tennis high you. Give, potlatch, take, iskum. All, Conaway, none, halo. Live, mitlight, die, mimalus. And I'm just realizing now that Conaway is also the name of the online dictionary that I created and the website also that goes along with it. So Conaway Wawa means all the talk or all the words. On the next slide, we have some more examples of opposites. So the first one is near. And the way we say near in Chinook Wawa is yakwa. Yakwa. And far is saya. Saya. So near, yakwa, far, saya. Above, sahali. Sahali. So again, you might see this word spelled with GH, a G and an H. So that would be sahali. Sahali, where it's a deeper, more guttural sound. So you could say it that way, sahali, or you could use a softer H sound, sahali. So that's above. Under is kikwili or keekwili. Again, it's up to you as to whether you want to say kikwili or keekwili. So above is sahali, under is kikwili or keekwili. Hot is warm. You might see a couple of different spellings and pronunciations. So you might see warm or wam. When you see the U there, that's when it makes an O sound, warm. When there's no U, it's more of an ah sound, wam. So it's basically the English word warm, but they've removed the R sound. So if you remember last week, I talked about a lot of indigenous languages don't have the R sound in them. So that's why many Chinook jargon or Chinook Wawa words don't have R's in them, so that people from the Pacific Coast indigenous nations could pronounce them easier. So it's easier, it would have been easier for one of my ancestors, a Haisla person, to say wam instead of warm, or wam instead of warm. And then cold essentially is the same as the English word, but they've removed the D at the end, so coal. So you might see it spelled with an E at the end. You might see it without the E. But either way, it's pronounced coal, like a lump of coal. Day is sun. You might see it spelled like the sun in the sky with a U. You might also see it spelled with an A. Either way, it's pronounced sun. And the night is polakli. You might pronounce it with an O sound, po, or you might hear an oo sound instead of. So it could be polakli or pulakli. Either way, it refers to the night. Polakli or pulakli. Come, to come is chako. Chako. To go is kladawa. Kladawa. Dry, again, they've removed the R, replaced it with an L because it's easier to pronounce here in the Pacific Northwest with indigenous language speakers. Dry. Dry. The word for wet, what I've found is described as patchak. So this TL makes a t sound. Patchak. So pat means full, chuk means water. So wet basically means full of water or patchak. So I'll go through them again, one at a time. Near, yakwa, far, saya. Above, sahali. Under, kikwili. Hot, warm or wam. Cold, coal. Day, sun. Night, polakli or pulakli. Come, chako or chako. Go, kladawa. Dry, dly. Wet, patchak. And then on the last slide here, again, this is the address for the Conaway Wawa dictionary website on the Webinary website. So that's where you can go to look up these words if you want to find them later on your own. And I'll be uploading this video after I'm finished here. I'll upload that tomorrow, and I'll also upload the presentation file that we just looked at together. So those will be available for you tomorrow, and I'll upload those to Facebook and also to the website, so you can go and access those at any time. So thank you for joining me today as we take a look at how Chinook jargon works and some helpful hints for learning Chinook Wawa. So I'm hoping that what I went over today, what I shared with you today, is going to be helpful to you in your learning journey. And yeah, so that's the class for today. I'm going to end things here by saying the word for later, which is athki. Athki, later.